Hare Krishna, everyone. In this Bhagavad Gita session, we're going to look at chapter 16, verse 21, which goes, Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha kama krodas tatha lobhas tasmad etat trayam tyajet. English translation. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So, we're just going to look at a very brief explanation before we go into more details. So here Krishna says that certain qualities like lust, anger, and greed are very dangerous, because these are going to lead us to hell. So it's in our interest that we should let go of these emotions, give them up, because these will just drag us down to demoniac forms of life. It's just it's going to lead to our degradation. So when one tries to satisfy his lust, which we all have a lot of lust in this material world, so when we try to satisfy this lust, and when we cannot satisfy it, that's when we get other emotions that come along, so anger and greed arise. So when a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, then that person becomes very mad after materialistic living, and throughout life engages in all kinds of sinful activities. A person who does not want to glide down to the species demoniac life must at all cost try to give up these three enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. So when we give up these three enemies of every person, lust, anger, and greed, the more we get rid of these, the more our existence becomes pure. And when we've let go of this, then we can follow rules and regulations enjoined in the Vedic literature and progress in our spiritual life. So in the Bhagavad Gita 3.36, Arjuna asked Krishna, O descendant of Vishnu, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So basically what Krishna is saying here is, what Arjuna is asking is that, so we know that sinful acts are bad, we don't want to do sinful acts, but still we're kind of forced to do it. We're impelled is the correct word. So we're impelled to these sinful acts. We're almost like drawn like a magnet to these sinful things. So why is everybody drawn like this to sinful acts? So Krishna says it's lust. It's actually lust. So lust is a very dangerous enemy. So lust is different from love. With lust, it's not true love that we have. It's the desire to enjoy. So lust means bad desires to enjoy, to be the enjoyer. And so when we're lusty, we want it, we want. Whereas love is different. Love is it's pure. It's when we want to see a person happy, We want to, we're not interested in our own selfish desires. We just want to make somebody happy. So love, unlike lust, is not directed towards oneself. It's directed to the object of love, and it's liberating. It can liberate you if you direct your love to Krishna. And actually, true love, it cannot exist in this material world, because for the embodied soul, it's the love is really a selfish. So there's always selfish intentions. There's always I want. It's about me, rather than about the other person. So true love is the love that a living entity, the soul, has for the super soul, the Supreme Lord. That is love. True love can only be between the soul and the Lord. It's unconditional, it's selfless, it's natural for the soul to love the Supreme Lord. The soul is Satchit Ananda, which is blissful, full of truth and eternal. And it's a natural characteristic to love God. When the same love that we are supposed to love God with, that same love, is directed towards oneself, it transforms into lust. And lust is never satisfied. Lust burns like a fire. So we can see there's fire here. And if we try to satisfy our lust, then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. It becomes an uncontrollable fire that rages. So when we try to satisfy our desires, it's like we're adding fuel to this fire, and it will not be satisfied. Rather, it'll just burn even stronger and stronger and stronger. So the best thing with lust is to tolerate it like an itch. We should not give in to lust, because when we do, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, say we're wanting to eat a pizza. So we want to satisfy this desire, right? So we go to the Pizza Hut and we get a lovely pizza. We eat the pizza, we're satisfied for a moment, but then afterwards we're like, the following day, oh, I wish I could eat another pizza. That pizza was absolutely amazing. So it's basically it just burns like a fire, really. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam 19:21, the personality of Godhead said, "Oh my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within the three worlds to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled." So here, this is being said by Vamanadev. We know that the Lord took on a dwarf form, and he went to the fire sacrifice conducted by Bali Maharaj, and there he asked for alms. So Bali Maharaj asked the Lord what he wanted, and the Lord just said, "I just want 3 pieces of land." And Bali Maharaj thought, that's a foolish request, because I'm the king, I possess everything, I'm the king of all the 3 worlds, I've conquered the whole world, and this foolish Brahmin boy is asking me for just 3 little steps of land. So Bali Maharaj said, "Please ask me for more, that's not very intelligent. You should ask me maybe for a village, or some a wife, or ask me for bigger things in charity." So that's when the Lord said that if our senses are uncontrolled, then nothing can satisfy us. And so when we satisfy our lust, we just implicated in this material world. We're entangled in the cycle of birth and death. We take on different bodies, of a different set of senses to enjoy whatever desires we have. So lust is a very dangerous enemy. So where to find lust and how do we conquer it? So we know that the senses give us a lot of trouble. The senses are always dragging us here and there. We know very well the analogy of the 5 horses, which are meant to be our senses: sight, taste, smell, hearing, and touch. And the 5 horses are going in all directions. They are uncontrollable. We have the driver sitting there holding the bridle. So the bridle of the horse is meant to be our mind, and the driver sitting on the chariot holding the bridle, that's meant to be our intellect. The carriage that is being drawn by the horse is meant to be our body, and the passenger in that chariot is meant to be our soul. So if we're not careful, our senses will drag us everywhere. We should control our senses, just like the driver controls the horses through the bridle. Now, the bridle is the mind, and the mind is what we need to control, because if we let the mind control us, then the propensity of the mind is to be dragged by the senses. So wherever there is promise of enjoyment, that's where the mind will be inclined towards. So the mind will be, let's head to the pub. There's plenty of enjoyment there. The mind will tell us to do things which are not in our interest, which is not for good for our soul. So we should not let the mind control us. Rather, we should control our mind, and we should control the senses. So with our intellect, which is the driver of the chariot, if we feed our intellect, our intelligence, our intellect will help to control the mind and the horses, which are our senses. So how just coming back to our senses now. So how do we control our senses? We can engage our senses. We can't stop our senses from working. We engage our senses in serving the Lord, and that will be easier to control then. So it goes like this. So our senses are always wanting to focus on the sense objects. So it's a natural thing that we want to touch nice things, we want to smell nice scents, fragrances, we want to hear pleasant sounds, beautiful music, we want to taste with our tongue all kinds of palatable dishes. With our eyes, we want to see nice things. So that's not a problem. We can give our senses a higher taste so that they will not crave for bad things. For instance, we want to see beautiful sights. Why not see the beautiful deity form of the Lord, which is the perfection of all sight? We want to taste palatable dishes. That's not a problem. We can make lovely dishes with love for the Lord. We can offer it to the Lord and eat the prasad, the sanctified remains of the food. They've been eaten by the Lord. We want to smell nice things. Why not go to the temple, smell incense that's been offered to the Lord, or smell tulsi leaves offered to the Lord? Why not use our ears to hear the transcendental sound vibrations of the holy name? Why not use our ears to hear the beautiful discourses on the forms, qualities, pastimes of the Lord. Hear beautiful kirtan. If we want to engage our sense of touch, we can fan the Lord, and we can do menial service for the Lord, which gives full satisfaction. And this way, when we control our senses, we regulate them, we dovetail them into serving Krishna, then our senses become controlled. So we just talked about the mind and how the mind likes to go with the senses where there's enjoyment. It's a bit like a mother. Like a mother is being dragged by the children. Let's go here, let's go there. Oh, let's go to the shop. It sells beautiful toys. So if a mother is being dragged by the children, then it's going to be chaotic situations. It's best if the mother tells the children where to go, rather than just be blindly dragged about. So our roving mind, it needs to be controlled. We all know that all kinds of problems arise from an uncontrolled mind. Our mind can be our best friend, or it can be our worst enemy. So an uncontrolled mind is our worst enemy, and it will give us distress after distress throughout our life. So important to control this mind, and we can do that very easily by hearing the transcendental vibrations of the holy name. So Lord Chaitanya gave us this beautiful, very potent mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, which is not mundane sounds. The names of the Lord are transcendental, and they're non-different from Him. So the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This chanting this mantra controls the mind. It controls the tongue as well. So when we chant the holy name, it's a very good way to control our sense of taste. It controls the tongue. With regards to the intelligence, we mentioned that excuse me, that we do need to feed the intellect. So remember the analogy we just mentioned here of the chariot being drawn by horses, right? So we have the driver of the chariot, and that driver is like our intelligence. So the driver should control the mind, which is the bridle, and the senses, the horse. So the mind, the intelligence, can control the senses. But it depends. If we can feed our intelligence by reading the scriptures, understanding the instructions of the acharyas, following in the footsteps of these acharyas and great devotees, hearing discourses, then we're feeding our intellect, and this will help us to decide what is good for us in life and what's bad. And so when we feed the intellect, we can make good choices in life. So reading the Bhagavad Gita, understanding the verses, this is very important. Alright, so now we are going to look at greed. So greed means when we want to over accumulate, and we want more and more. We're never happy with whatever we have. We just we over endeavor for material things. So that spoils our devotional service. Over endeavoring for material things and never being happy and wanting more and more it takes away our peace. It fills us with anxiety, where there cannot be peace with greed, and it's a bad thing to have. We remember Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is greed. Hiranyaksha is greed personified. Hiranyaksha was a very powerful demon. He wanted a lot of gold. We know that demons are very, very lusty and they're very greedy. They're not happy with what they have. They just want to acquire more and more and more. So Hiranyaksha was mining the earth. He was taking the gold from the earth. He was never happy with how much he had. So we remember what happened to the earth. It lost its balance and it fell in the Garbhodaka ocean. The Lord asked Varahadev, who we can see here is the boar incarnation, had to come to save the earth and kill Hiranyaksha. We know other people, other characters, or other characters other demons who were very greedy, like Ravan. We'll have Hiranyakashipu as well, and all these demons who were greedy, they met with annihilation in the end. So greed is a destructive. It's a destructive emotion. It's destructive because greed. We need to understand, whatever is provided to us is being provided by the Supreme Lord, and if we try to enjoy wealth, which is Lakshmi Devi, without the Lord in the picture, without Narayan, then we're sure to meet the same destructive end like Ravan, who tried to enjoy Sita Devi without Lord Ram. So opulences are provided by the Lord, and we should give it back to him, because he is the proprietor. He's the proprietor of all wealth and opulence. It remains the property of the Supreme Lord. Ultimately, no one can enjoy money because, as Shukdev Goswami said, money does not stay in one place. It passes from one hand to another. We know that the goddess Lakshmi, she's said to be very chanchal, which means she doesn't remain in one place for long. She likes to go from one place to another. So we should be careful. We should just be satisfied with possessing the minimum necessities in life. Obviously, we need some money, we need wealth in order to be able to live. We have bills to pay, we need food, we need clothing. That's fine, but when we start to overwork, we're wanting to work day and night to accumulate excessive wealth, that's when it becomes a problem, because we don't have sufficient time for understanding the Supreme Lord and spiritual matters. We're so constantly engaged in thoughts of accumulating possessions, and we forget the goal of human life. And greed is never satisfied. We always think that we'll be happy if we get that promotion, we earn more, we'll be happy. But then when we get the promotion and we're earning more, we're still not happy. We just want another promotion. We want to go higher and higher because we think it's going to make us happy. We always think that what we don't have will make us happy. But truth is, greed is never satisfied. It will never be, there will never be a point where we're like, okay, now I'll stop. I'm happy with what I have. I don't need any more. So we don't want to be working hard day and night, accumulating wealth, because let's check out what the fate of accumulated wealth is. If we don't give it back to Krishna, we don't utilize it in the service of the Lord, then the fate of the accumulated wealth is it will go to the lawyers, it will go to the NHS, to the doctors, expensive medications. It will be taken by the government for taxes. It will be robbed by scammers and malevolent people who are always eyeing the wealth of others. And ultimately, at the time of death, we'll have to leave everything back. We cannot enjoy our accumulated wealth, and this is going to go to family members or other people. And we've just spent our whole life over accumulating, working hard, neglecting our spiritual life, and in the end we die and we don't take anything with us. And so there's a very nice quote in the Bible. Can't remember exactly how it is, but I think it goes like, do not build your castles on this earth, but build your castle in the kingdom of God, or something like that, which means that in this world, whatever we build here will be lost anyway. It will be gone. The all-devouring death will prevent us from enjoying whatever we've accumulated. So here is a very nice example here of the honeybee. We know that honeybees work really hard. They collect nectar from flowers and they make honey. And they are very, very hard-working worker bees. We know there's the queen and there's the worker bees. So the bees make honey, but can they enjoy the honey? No. They work so hard making so much honey, but they don't get to enjoy it. Instead, we take the honey away, we consume it. So that's the situation with us, really. So that's greed. So greed is nothing but intensified desire. So when desire is satisfied, it gives birth to greed. And when it's not satisfied, it gives rise to anger. So greed is nothing but intensified desire, while anger is frustrated desire. So we're going to look at anger now. So anger means frustrated desire. And anger means a lot of trouble. We know anger is one letter away from danger. And that is so true. So in the Bhagavad Gita 263, Krishna says, from anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So we know that when we're angry, we're blinded by anger, we just shoot arrows of abusive words. It can even get physical, and when we're angry, we can't think clearly. We say things in anger and we hurt others. Relationships break from it. It's very noxious. So this emotion that we have called anger should be carefully contained. So it's like this person here. So if a person is throwing fireballs, so if we are throwing fireballs of anger at a person, the first thing that happens is we ourselves end up burning our hands before burning the other. So anger is such a negative feeling. It actually causes more destruction to us than the other person who made us angry. So anger is something we have to deal with. It's in the mode. A person who is in the mode of passion tends to get angry very quickly. Actually, anger is right. We'll go to that later on. So let's take a look at this pool here. So this pond is like our consciousness. And when other people throw pebbles in the pond of our consciousness, people throw provocative pebbles into the surface of our consciousness, there are ripples. There are ripples of agitation, frustration, irritation, and anger. And when there are these ripples, if there are fishes there in a pond, we will not see the fishes, right? With ripples, we can't see the fishes underneath the water. So in the same way, when people throw provocative pebbles, it's like circumstances in our life. There are ripples of anger, and we don't see things as they are. So the fishes are likened to the things as they stand, as they are. And so with the ripples of anger, irritation, we don't really see things as they are. So it's delusion. And we lose our intelligence and we do things, crazy things. So we really have to control this very negative feeling that's anger. And how to deal with anger. So when we're angry, the best thing to do is to stay calm and not react at that moment. Take your time, just blow air out, try not to say anything, because our mind, which is in the grips of anger, will not really be functioning clearly. The best thing is to chant the holy name, or think of the names, form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna, and take shelter of Krishna. Or sometimes there may be a need to isolate ourselves. So that's fine, we can isolate ourselves and let the anger cool down. But it's never a good idea to speak while under the influence of anger, because it causes damage. So better to chant and take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Now there are some people who will say, well, I'm using anger so long as it's being used in service of the Lord. It's a good thing. It's good to be angry. Like take the example of Hanuman and how he used anger to destroy Lanka and teach Ravan a lesson. With his tail he set the whole of Lanka on fire. But that is Hanuman. Hanuman is an elevated devotee, and he used anger not to satisfy himself, not to vent out. He used it in the service of the Lord. Oftentimes we tend to vent out, and it makes us satisfied if we are able to vent out. It is a good thing to vent out, because if we keep things bottled up, then we might explode, and it's noxious to our health. However, venting out here doesn't mean that we need to be shouting at a person or hurling objects at them. It's just we can vent out in a way that will not hurt anyone. We can grab a notebook and start and write out all our feelings of anger on it. It has a psychological effect, and it can help to cool down, rather than just hurling a string of abusive words to a person. Once the anger is cooled down, we've chanted or we've written down in a notebook, we've taken shelter of Krishna. Once we're cooled down, then we can approach the person in a composed way, and we can explain to them when we're not under the influence of the emotion. Right, so we remember, for instance, once Dhruva Maharaj got really angry. His brother got killed by a yakshas while the brother was out in the forest hunting. He got killed by a yaksha. And Dhruva, being a very powerful emperor of the world, was very angry. He set out to the city of Alakapuri, which is where the yakshas live, and he started to attack indiscriminately the inhabitants there. Obviously, only one yaksha killed his brother, but he started destroying the whole city, and innocent yakshas were being killed, and so that was very destructive. And so the grandfather of Dhruva, Swayambhuva Manu, had to come there and had to pacify him and tell him, look, what you're doing, it's a gateway to hell. It leads to hellish life. Don't give in to your anger. So, yeah, so anger means trouble. So here we are looking at a story of Lord Indra. So that is a story to do with lust. So once Lord Indra was cursed by Brihaspati, who is the spiritual master of the demigods. So Brihaspati cursed Lord Indra to take birth on the earth as a hog. So Indra forgot his identity as the king of the heavenly planets. He was in the body of a hog. He got married, and with his wife, he had dozens of piglets, and he even became the leader of the hog clan. So in illusion, Indra was enjoying so much that he was enjoying running in the mud, playing with his cute little piglets, enjoying with his wife, eating excuse me, eating mud, eating stalls. He had a happy life as a hog, so-called happy. So much so that at the end of his curse, he did not want to return to the heavenly planet. Lord Brahma had to come down to get him because there was nobody to fill in his position in the heavenly planets. So Lord Brahma came down and he said, come back, Indra. Time to go back. It's so much better up there. You can enjoy more, thousands of times more than on this planet Earth. But Indra, he was so illusioned, so lusty. He was thinking, I'm happy here with my friends and my family members, my wife, my cute piglets. All of them are dependent on me. If I leave them, then who will care for them? So such is the power of illusory energy, Maya, that it forces us to believe that the life that we're leading is enjoyable and permanent. So Indra, he just wanted to be there enjoying. And so what happened is the butcher came along and started to take the piglets one by one to kill them. His wife got killed, and that's when Indra woke up. Really, he understood that this is not really enjoyment. I'm not really enjoying myself here. And so he was so miserable and lamenting over the loss of everything he had, and he then agreed to go back to the heavenly planets. Alright, here's a story about the residents of Kali. So Maharaj Parikshit was a very powerful emperor of the world. During his reign, there was prosperity. There was no evil. There was no. It was very harmonious. Everything was right. But one day, while Maharaj Parikshit was traveling around, he came across a personality who was Kali, basically. So Kali, who is the personification of the Kali Yuga, so Kali, who deliberately commits all kinds of sinful acts which are forbidden in the revealed scriptures. Kali was dressed like a king, and he was beating a cow and a bull with a club. The cow had lost 3 of her legs. She was crying. So Maharaj Parikshit, he immediately got off from his chariot, and he threatened to kill that person who dared to commit this incredible offense. That Kali fell on his fate, and he begged Maharaj Parikshit not to kill him. And Sutta Goswami in the Srimad Bhagavatam narrates, so it says, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter are being performed. Because Kali, he had no place in the kingdom of Maharaj Parikshit, because there was only goodness there. Sin personified could not reside there. And so Kali asks, where will I reside? Please give me some places where I can reside. And so he was given these places to reside. So sin resides where there is gambling in the casinos, where there is drinking in the pubs, wherever there is alcohol, wherever there is prostitution, wherever there is animal slaughter. That's sin residing there, right there. So the personality of Kali, he was not satisfied. He wanted more. He wanted more places to reside. So he asked Maharaj Parikshit for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live wherever there is gold. So wherever there is gold, there is sin. And so he was told he could reside wherever there is gold, because there is also falsity, there is intoxication, there is lust, envy, and enmity. So wherever there is gold, wherever there is opulence, these lust, envy, enmity, intoxication, falsity will be found there. Right, so having talked about the 3 gates to hell, how do we escape from the 3 gates to hell? How? So in Bhagavad Gita 16:22, Krishna says, the man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization, and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. So Krishna tells us how we can escape the gates of hell. And so there's so many ways. So by reading Prabhupada's books, we can gain instructions of how to progress in self-realization. We can do kirtan, we can chant the holy names of the Lord, we can practice bhakti yoga, the 9 principles of devotional service, which are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So by practicing these 9 principles of devotional service, we can subdue our lust, anger, and greed, and progress on the path and escape from hell. Hare Krishna.